This video is for the marketing unit in AQA Business Studies, and it's just looking at the formulas that you'll need to know. Some of these are quite self-explanatory, but you can see there's actually quite a few formulas for this unit, more so than Units 6 and Unit 4. But obviously not as much as Unit 5, which is the finance unit. The first formula that we're going to look at is market capitalization, and that's measured in pounds. And it's to do with the outstanding shares and I suppose the value of those shares. So in terms of the share price times by the number of shares in issue, and just make sure that you focus that it's the outstanding shares that are obviously available for purchase. So in terms of if there's like a positive marketing conditions that maybe benefits the firm with the shares, maybe a marketing campaign has been very successful, we might see a rise in that share price. Again, if there's been a decline in some way, maybe the negative publicity in some way, poor media scrutiny based on maybe, unethical factors, we could see the share price fall, so the market capitalization might fall also. Sales volume, very, very similar to sales revenue, just the volume times the average price. There's not really any difference, but it's measured in pounds. The market growth, you have to do a percentage change. So your market size in that year minus your market size in the previous year divided by the market size, the original market size in that previous year as well. So the difference divided by the market size in the previous year will get you your market growth. Now, obviously, if there's a higher market growth, then it suggests that there's opportunity for the business to really try to implement as many strategies as possible to really soak up that growth and try and increase their revenue as much as possible. Because like I said, if there's increased market growth, it shows that there's opportunity for increased revenue. Sales growth, again, it's shown as a percentage. So as with market growth and as with sales growth, once you've done the percentage change, times it by 100 to get you a percentage. But for sales growth, it's the difference, the sales in that year minus the sales in the previous year, divided by sales in the previous year, times by 100. And for a business, you'd hope for higher sales growth because it would show that some of the marketing strategies that you're carrying out and you've implemented are showing success because the growth in sales is increasing. For price elasticity of demand, percentage change in quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in price. Now just remember, percentage change is obviously the difference in your quantity demanded divided by the original, and the difference in your price divided by the original. Now just to remember that quantity demanded always goes on top, because sometimes students get these mixed up. I always remember it as the way of, it's a bit of a strange way of remembering it, but it does make you remember, is if you think about public bathrooms, if you think about women, they tend to queue when they need to go to the bathroom. So always think women always queue before they pee, and that'll make you remember. So if you pee before you queue, then obviously you're in a bit of trouble. But if you queue before you pee, then you should get the formula correct. If the percentage changes, for example, first of all, it'll always be a minus. The reason why it'll always be a minus is because there's an inverse relationship. And what I mean by that is that if there's an increase in price, there'll be a decrease in quantity demanded. And if there's a decrease in price, there'll be an increase in the quantity demanded. So it's inverse. So economists don't even really consider the minus with price elasticity because it's a given. But if it was like, let's say, minus 0.5, that would suggest that the percentage change in price is greater than the percentage change in quantity demanded, which would suggest that the responsiveness of quantity demanded would be quite low, meaning it would be inelastic. In this case, what the firm should do to increase their revenue is they should increase prices, because they would know that the quantity demanded wouldn't be very responsive. So actually, even though demand would fall, it wouldn't fall enough to reduce revenue. And in fact, because it's so it's not responsive that much at all, you'd probably see an increase in revenue because of the percentage change in price. If it was, for example, minus 2, then it suggests that there's a greater percentage change in the quantity demanded than the change in price. So if, for example, you did increase price, then there'd be a massive responsiveness of quantity demanded And because of the inverse relationship, it would mean that a lot of customers would probably switch to substitute goods rather than buy this good, suggesting that it's elastic. So with an elastic good, it's better to reduce the price. Even if you reduce it slightly, there'd be a massive responsive change in quantity demanded, which would bring up the revenue. With income elasticity of demand, that's to do with the nature of the goods. So for example, if there's a percentage change in the quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in income, if we see that it's negative, so the income elasticity of demand is negative, we'd consider that to be an inferior good. Now what that means is, if, for example, there's an increase in the change in income, so disposable income is getting higher, but we see a fall in the quantity demanded, then that shows that it's an inferior good, because people with higher disposable income they're probably buying more luxury goods now, and they don't want the inferior goods. But if the disposable income rose and the percentage change in quantity demanded also rose, so it was a positive, then we start to see normal goods. Now, if the answer is 0 to 1, then we'd see it as just as a normal good. But if it's greater than 1, then we'd see it as more of a luxury good. Because what that is showing is there's a much greater change in quantity demanded than there is in terms of the change in income. So when people's disposable income goes up, they're much more obliged to buy luxury goods. Examples: in the last recession, when disposable income fell, Poundland rapidly expanded, which shows that it's an inferior good. Now the economy is recovering, Poundland are having profit warnings and they're having to sell off some of their stores. Also, if you think about in terms of maybe good examples of luxury cars, maybe designer models, the more premium cars, maybe they go up in sales when there's high levels of economic growth or a boost in disposable income. Maybe some people choose to stray away from public transport and get maybe taxis when their income rises, suggesting that it's more of a luxury good. Perhaps people stray away from fast food and go for fine dining when there's a higher change in income, all examples of luxury goods. Now the final two are very, very similar. You've got your unit market share and you've got your revenue market share, and it's just the both ways of measuring, again, the company's market share to see how well they're doing in that current market. So a unit is just based on their actual unit sales, so it's not done, it wouldn't be considered in a monetary way, it'd just be considered in terms of volume, but it would be measured as a percentage, and it'd be unit sales divided by total market unit sales times by 100. Your revenue market shares is based on the sales revenue that is being generated within that market by that firm in comparison to the total market revenue. So that would be a monetary value, but it'd be measured in a percentage form. So your sales revenue divided by your total market revenue times by 100. And these are all the formulas that you will need to know for your Unit 3.